This program was made possible by the City of Oceanside and the following KOCT corporate sponsor.
Enjoy Professional Hair Care offers over 30 pH-balanced and stable products designed to meet the needs of every hair type and delivers beautiful, healthy hair from start to finish. And just remember to enjoy.
On this all-new edition of Inside Oceanside, we get the story behind a long-lost letter from World War II and its intercontinental journey home. Next, we attend a recent art auction for the benefit of North County Lifeline. Then, we get the lowdown on one of the oldest living things in North County. Join us for these stories and more on this all-new edition of Inside Oceanside, starting right now. What inspires a collector to return a long-lost 65-year-old letter to the rightful heirs who live on the other side of the world? Join us as we delve into the mystery and learn the motivation. Rex Butler says he's just a collector.
Found this box, and like most things that we buy, took it home and put it in the garage.
But when this North Carolina man finally got around to inspecting a box of old photos he bought at an antique store, what he found amazed him.
Not only are there letters from a Marine to his son, in the last couple that I opened up, there are items from Iwo Jima.
Rex felt compelled to follow another track, finding the family of the American soldier and returning the letters, which he did.
Another member of Collectors Weekly does something that I never would have thought of. He goes on Facebook and finds a name, the last name of the Marine, and finds a relative.
But there was something else, a letter written in Japanese, a letter whose trek across the globe was about to begin the final leg of a 65-year journey. It was revealed to be a letter from a Japanese mother to her son, who was killed at the Battle of Iwo Jima. Seeing what it meant to the American family, he turned his attention to this Japanese letter, and with the same determination, set out to track down the descendants and return the letter.
The son of the Marine actually comes up with a partial translation of the letter. He gives me a name, the Hattori family, and he gives me a city, Kisarazu.
Upon learning that Oceanside, California is a sister city of Kisarazu, Rex called City Hall and was connected with Vicki Prosser, who, along with Jim Schroeder, helped manage the Sister City program for Oceanside. And after a few phone calls and more than a little digging, Vicki called with the good news. Motoki Hattori, the great-nephew of the Japanese soldier, had been found and would be willing to come to Oceanside from Japan to meet with Rex for the return of the letter to the Hattori family. At a dinner held at the El Camino Country Club in Oceanside, Rex was able to realize his dream of reuniting the letter with whom he termed the rightful owners. During a very moving ceremony, the letter was handed over to great-nephew Motoki Hattori, who, through an interpreter, later talked about the significance for him and his family, and for Japanese families in general.
It's just something very special, things for them, and by having those coming back to him, his family, even though he lost his great uncle at the war, and now they can accept his death. Also, this, as a family member, his life finally has become complete as with them.
A great stroke of luck was the fact that the Hattori's grandfather had written a book about the family and their history during the war, which proved essential to finding the family.
His grandfather actually went to Iwo Jima, tried to look for any remains of his brother. He could not find it. In his book, he mentioned about that was a very sad thing. But now, because the letter finally came out, they cannot be any happier than now.
I want to speak more with you. Last week, I'm happy I had such a nice time here. Thank you.
Coincidentally, the Kisarazu International Friendship Association was also sponsoring an exchange student trip for Oceanside in the same week. To thank their American hosts, the Kisarazu students entertained the crowd singing Japanese songs and American standards.
By me, oh, stand by me.
Followed by a demonstration of the Japanese martial art Aikido and the Yasai Mosai, sort of a Japanese version of a conga line that everyone participates in during an annual street festival in Kisarazu. One can wonder about the likelihood of someone finding the Hattori letter and being willing to take the time to find the family, let alone return the letter. So I asked Rex why this was so important to him.
I'm adopted. I grew up in a children's home in Kentucky. I have one letter from my biological father, so I know what a letter can mean. I did not know exactly what it means to a Japanese family, which is even more than it might mean to me.
The return of the Hattori letter to the family helps to tie up loose ends of a story left incomplete many decades ago. But it also opens another chapter in these two countries' cultural exchange on a much happier note this time around.
We'll go back with just some incredible friends, international friends.
This is Peter Boncher for KOCT. Oceanside's Heritage Days celebrates Oceanside's rich past and brings attention to the nonprofit Friends of Oceanside Parks, an organization helping to maintain parks and recreation services in Oceanside.
Located near Mission San Luis Rey, Heritage Park is a cultural gem designed to preserve Oceanside's history and charm. Just one of the many parks the city provides, Heritage Park was the location of the first fundraising event held by Friends of O Parks.
Heritage Park is a really fabulous park in Oceanside that's just the best kept secret. It was built in 1976 as a bicentennial park, and it was an old county public works yard transformed into this beautiful park. The Friends of Oceanside Parks decided to hold their first event here to showcase Heritage Park, since it's such a cute, adorable park and just so family friendly and some beautiful shade trees.
Well, it's kind of fitting. It's here at the Bicentennial Park of Oceanside, which of course Heritage Village, and it's been made to look like the little parts of Oceanside in the past, and so people come together here for a lot of memories that they have in our community and our country, and it's a very active park when it comes to local history.
This is an event really to show the jewel that this park is. And when I started thinking about Heritage Day, I thought, okay, what does that actually mean? What is Oceanside Heritage? So we have classic cars, we have some folklorico dancers, tamales and hot dogs, and some great music, and people coming out and enjoying a beautiful day in this beautiful spot.
This is a dream that the Parks and Recreation Division's had for a long time. Basically, we need to begin to generate revenue for some of our Parks and Recreation programs due to some budget cuts. And so we thought by organizing a nonprofit organization, much like the Friends of the Library help the library, Friends of Oceanside Parks helps Oceanside Parks and Recreation.
I really feel this is important because, first off, not only does it bring the community together, just having people actually outside, not so much playing video games inside, but it actually gets them outside, playing with their families, playing with their friends, and also it's really neat because it helps people get an interest and attraction to the parks in Oceanside. A lot of times I think people forget that there are family parks, community parks, and this entire event is basically here to get people aware of how to raise money to parks, how to keep them in their best condition so that they'll be around for the following generations.
I really think this particular event will help the Parks and Recreation Department because it will allow people to get to know who they are, what they do, and all of the parks that we have here in Oceanside. A lot of people don't realize how many parks we have as a city, and that it's, so my thing today, one of the things I shared with the people is, when you think about having that backyard barbecue, instead of doing that, why don't you take it out to your local park? And then, of course, all the programming we have for kids, too, is just amazing as well.
Right now, since we're just in our infancy in the last couple of months, we're hoping to raise a couple of $1,000s for concerts in the park this summer. We do have two scheduled up at Rancho del Oro, one on July 15th and one on August 26th. And basically, we need some additional funds to help for the PA system and the stage, and I'm hoping that the Friends of Oceanside Parks can help with that. But we have a very long wish list. And we're hopeful with additional funds that we could continue to scholarship children in our community to attend our recreation classes, our sports camps, our swim programs. So we're hoping that the Friends of Oceanside Parks will help us meet that gap or fill the gap.
Well, we're looking forward to having a good turnout and making sure that everything goes smoothly and that it's the kind of thing that we want to continue to do in the future.
Well, I'm looking forward to having people know about O-Park and support it and understand that the people of Oceanside do need to support the parks. And just, to see a lot of people and have a good time.
We're so lucky to be in such a great city where we have great weather all the time. And so, don't just go to the beach, but take advantage of our parks as well.
To find out how you can get involved with Friends of Oceanside Parks, please call 760-435-5041.
Many of us have driven by and wondered, just how old is that tree? KOCT got a chance to visit with the family and get a close-up look at one of the oldest living things around.
Have you ever noticed this rather large tree and wondered, how old is it? Who planted it? And what's it like living alongside of it? The Morton Bay fig tree in Oceanside was actually planted in 1934 or 35 by Archibald Orestes Cope and his grandson Richard Euler, according to granddaughter Betty Ann Hillman. The Cope family came to Oceanside to grow gladiolas and planted the dry root twig that grew into this rather impressive tree. Betty Ann remembers her own children playing in their great-grandparents' tree, which has gained celebrity over the years. So we asked current homeowner Joseph Thompson what life was like living with his tree.
I think the first thing you have to realize it's not your tree. It's much older and bigger than anything else, so it's a community tree. I don't own this tree, everybody does. Probably the nicest thing about it keeps the house very nice and cool in the summertime because it completely canopies. One thing is you don't use this fireplace anymore because the tree is right over it. The tree has its own mind, and so if there's concrete, it'll move the concrete out of place for you. And while we used to have a nice lawn here and a nice fence around here, the tree decided to move it out of the way. You get so many visitors, and so many people come by and knock on your door, or they ask if they can take pictures, and then sometimes they'll even come back years later. You spot the tree about a block away, and I always look for the big old canopy, and then it feels like though you're crawling underneath the tree, and it's almost like it's putting its limbs in around you and just takes you back in, so it actually feels very secure. And so living under the tree and coming back to the tree on a daily basis is almost like coming back to your secret tree fort that nobody knows about.
This amazing tree's been referred to as Grandpa Joe, but it really stirred the imagination of one 10-year-old, Fred Osuna, who wrote about Old Man Tree years later.
When I was 10 years old, my family moved to the top of a hill, and I would often hop on my bike and ride straight up California Street. Just before the halfway point, a big tree dominated the landscape. Calling it a big tree doesn't quite do it justice, though. This tree was gigantic. Its branches extended high and far out over the street in all directions. I would slow my pedaling to marvel at this tree whenever I rode up the hill. The tree's age and size seemed to engender respect automatically. I called it Old Man Tree. Long after I'm gone, I suspect Old Man Tree will remain, right there at the side on California Street, slowing traffic and sheltering passers-by, exerting some undefinable power over others, just as he has on me.
So next time you see Old Man Tree, give it a salute and a smile. With love, care, and respect, this tree could still be here for the grandchildren of your grandchildren. I'm Janine Postel-Shepard for KOCT.
North County Lifeline is a youth program designed to benefit the entire family by keeping kids off the street and focusing their energy into creative projects. A recent art auction helped raise funds for the program.
North County Lifeline is a youth-centered program designed to help today's young population overcome certain hardships they may be faced with. As an effort to raise money for the program, North County Lifeline held its second art auction where many came out to bid on art pieces created entirely by the youth.
Lifeline is a human service organization. Our target is to help children, families, and teenagers become self-sufficient and self-reliant And we're going to try and do that through skill building activities, counseling, and all sorts of life experiences that are going to make them feel confident about their future.
The programs are just huge for these kids. They have nowhere to go after school, so their neighborhoods are very tight-knit and they don't go out of their neighborhoods. So if we weren't in that neighborhood, they would have absolutely nowhere to go. So it affects them by giving them a safe place to go. There's a lot of gang activity in the neighborhoods. It gives them a positive place to go. There's a lot of negativity that they're surrounded by. And it's something fun for them. You know, they come to us and they don't have to worry about all that gang activity. It's something where they can just come and be a kid.
It's like a safe haven for a lot of those kids. 25 feet outside of our gates is a whole nother world for these kids. A place of gangs, drugs, and alcohol. And Club Crown Heights makes a huge positive difference in the lives of these kids out of 10 on a daily basis. It's their choice to make a difference in their own lives, to make a difference in their future. And that's why we get these kids coming in. They choose for themselves not to enter that world that's 25 feet outside that gate.
I think it's a great program. It helped me a lot. I've been there for at least, I want to say, 7 years, maybe more. It's definitely helped me a lot throughout my life. Well, before I went to the program, I was like outside doing bad things, like doing bad stuff. So this friend, he's like, you want to come to a program? So I went, I signed in, and I liked it. We did sports, activities. We had a lot of fun.
It's changed a lot because my brother, he hangs out with the gang members, and I don't want to be like him, and I want to change my life.
I was one of the few youth that was that came through this organization at first. Barbara Moreno, she was my mentor as a youth. So I honestly came to Lifeline when I was 10 years old or so. I started coming to the program, since the after-school program with Barb. Helped me out a lot. I managed to get out of the neighborhood I used to live in. Got out of high school, went to college. I'm a current graduate, and now I'm working with North Carolina Lifeline for over 3 years now. So that's basically how I came apart.
Last year, it was an idea that one of our kids had. We started this whole event based on one of our kids saying, why don't we save our after-school programs? They knew there was budget cuts coming. They watch the news. They see all these cuts coming. And one of the things that they said was, if we create artwork and we're giving it away and we're just doing all these things with our artwork, why can't we sell this and do something to save our programs and do something positive to make sure that our programs are here for us? So that was the start of the program, or this event. And it's just kind of turned into this huge thing for Lifeline. And it's great because our kids get to see, a lot of our kids are actually here, and they get to see, kind of the fruits of their labor actually come into life.
The event itself is a fundraiser, and there are two opportunities to be, actually 3 opportunities to contribute. One, you can bid on a piece of artwork. 2, you can bid on a item which is going to be auctioned off. And 3, you can just come out of your pocket and write a check.
I would encourage people to, if they own a business or work in a business, to see if they could possibly get involved by sponsoring the event in some way, or contributing their time in some way. Also, to come to the event really and get involved and bid on art, and see what we're doing here, and what great skill these kids have. They're really talented.
My one hope for this event is that people realize what we really do with these kids and see the difference that we make with these youth, because these youth don't always get a voice, and so the fact that we're able to be a voice for them is huge for us.
My motto is, if I can save one kid's life, I'm making a huge difference. Every single one of those kids that attends my program is my baby. As you can see here today, it's a huge, huge accomplishment, and it's all because of them. This is their life, this is their world, and this is their beautiful future. Lifeline gives them hope for a new future.
For more information on North County Lifeline, please visit nclifeline.org.
Much attention has been focused on nuclear power plants since the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan. a recent presentation at El Camino Country Club in Oceanside helped shed light on our own nuclear neighbor, San Onofre. The recent nuclear power plant disaster in Japan naturally raised questions regarding the safety of our own nuclear power plants here in America. So when a representative from the San Onofre Nuclear Generating Station, Christopher Abel, offered a presentation explaining operations at the plant to the Oceanside Rotary Club, KOCT was there. The presentation, which included a question and answer period, covered the technology used by the plant, as well as emergency protocols in place for responding to disasters. San Onofre sits on 84 acres and generates 22 million megawatts of power, enough to power 1.4 million homes.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about...
Chris explained the technology employed. Uranium fuel pellets are placed end-to-end in long metal tubes called fuel rods. The fuel rods are placed within a reactor, whose 8-inch thick walls contain the fission process. The reactor is then contained under an airtight dome with walls 4 feet thick, a sight familiar to anyone who has driven the 5 freeway. Until the United States decides on a national policy for proper disposal of radioactive spent fuel rods, the tubes are stored in airtight casks on the premises.
In Japan, the Fukushima plant's 85
With the Fukushima disaster fresh in our minds, Chris was quick to point out the key distinction of ground acceleration, the rate of ground movement following an earthquake.
We have seismologists on staff. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission has their seismologists. We use the U.S. Geologic Survey. We use data. We use reports. It's determined that the maximum credible ground acceleration that could possibly be felt at the plant is 0.33 Gs. That's the maximum credible. So when we designed the plant, our design basis, we designed it at 0.67 Gs, so double what the science tells us is the maximum credible seismic event that could possibly occur at the plant.
Another important element is the seawall, which underperformed at the Fukushima plant.
So here's your seawall right here at the 30-foot level, and then this 50-foot level, this line right here, you'll see that's where the domes itself sit on 50 feet, and then there's a 70-foot level. So if you're talking about the domes and the reactors themselves, it's a 30-foot seawall and then another 20-foot of margin above that where the actual reactors are.
Millions of gallons of seawater are piped in through underwater channels and is used to recondense steam generated by the processor. And understandably, fish are caught in the process. The California Coastal Commission required mitigation projects to offset the negative effects, namely the San Dieguito Wetlands Restoration Project and the successful Wheeler North Giant Kelp Reef off the coast of San Clemente.
It's been growing out there for about a year. It's introduced, over 50 species of fish and other animals that weren't there before. The fishermen love it, the divers love it. So,
one of the largest employers in the area, San Onofre participates with the Interjurisdictional Planning Committee, made up of San Onofre employees and emergency planners from surrounding counties and jurisdictions. The organization is unique to San Onofre and is designed to plan for protecting the public in the event of an emergency or disaster. This is Peter Boncher for Inside Oceanside. They call themselves San Diego's first fruit wine company. Come along as we find out how these two young brothers took a dream and turned it into a business they are passionate about.
All it took was a sip of wine.
My wheels started turning. I think Alan's wheels started turning, and we said, wow, you know what? This is good. Let's run with this. I think it has potential.
A swallow of sweetness that would be the first taste to their success. The wine they tasted was fruit wine, made just like regular wine, but instead of using grapes, it's made with other types of fruit.
Our business partners, Bobby and Devin, they had been making the wine for 5 or 6 years as a hobby. A lot of people in the area are doing brewing their own beer and making their own wine, and they had been doing that. When they came over one day and brought some of the wine they made, we're like, what is this? Like, oh, it's plum wine. We're like, wow, that is good.
After the idea sprouted, the twin brothers began building their winery business from the ground up.
Coming into this whole thing, we didn't have any suppliers in place. We didn't have an idea about who to approach for labeling. We didn't have the labels designed. We didn't have a website. We didn't have anything. So really, at every stage, it's taken all of our effort.
And while there were challenges and fights along the way,
And watermelon, you kind of think you want a crisper type of a wine. I would say more crisp, probably. Or more crisp. Not sure. That's grammar. Thanks, Al.
The brothers thrived, thanks in part to their undying perseverance.
I mean, I never really lost hope, and even today, if this entire winery burned to the ground, I'd try it all over again. There's no such thing as failure. It's always a stepping stone. So I don't think there was any point where we have said so far, man, I'm not sure if this is a good idea. I think we just strengthen our resolve and go after it more. And yeah, I don't think there's been a point where we've considered throwing in the towel.
2 years later, the California Fruit Wine Company was born. Notably, the first fruit wine company in San Diego. And they want to keep it that way.
We want to prioritize North County in particular because that's where we grew up. We grew up in Vista Oceanside, went to school at Rancho Buena Vista High School. We're North County kids. Our friends, when they go out to Carlsbad. So we're trying to prioritize getting into retailers, getting into restaurants in North County. So Oceanside's a part of that. Vista's a part of that. Carlsbad, Escondido. We're going directly to consumers. We're at farmers markets. And we hope to be in Oceanside's farmer market by fall, the latest.
Their company offers 4 types of wines at the moment: peach, plum, cherry, and their bestseller, strawberry. But the brothers like to experiment with different fruits that could potentially work as a wine. Watermelon is their latest test trial. And I wouldn't be a serious journalist if I didn't investigate deeper into this story. And of course, taste test how fruit wine compares to grape wine.
That's very good. And
So-
it's interesting because it doesn't taste, I mean, grape wine doesn't taste like grapes
Exactly.
either, but this just tastes like wine.
It tastes like wine.
It just tastes like wine.
with the hint of
With
the
a
fruit.
hint
So
of fruit.
that's what I always tell people. It really is more wine than fruit juice or something they would consider to be fruity. But it's fruity. It's just not overly fruity. It's literally wine made from that fruit. So it's going to have the same wine characteristics.
In the end, not much different than grape wine and definitely worth the taste. While these entrepreneurs are young, other people interested in starting up a business in a failing economy can learn a couple things from these guys.
Most people, especially people who went to college, when they think about their future, their career, they think about working for somebody. So whether that be for a corporation or whether that be at the local McDonald's, it's an employment situation. Well, when you're employed by someone, there's a lack of innovation, there's a lack of ingenuity, there's a lack of progress. So part of what's missing in our culture is that entrepreneurial spirit, that spirit that innovates and creates something new and lasting. It's no longer about making a living or becoming rich or any of that stuff. It's about doing something you enjoy. And guess what? When you're doing something that you're passionate about, you're going to put in 16 hours a day because it's not a burden on you. You want to do it. You like it. And so that's so much of what it means to find out what's in your heart and then bring it forth.
And with their eye on the prize, these boys are dreaming big on the future of their company.
Short-term goal, move into a place with tasting room, nice setting, maybe even have some food. Be associated as one of the best well-known San Diego wineries.
I think we can toast to that. For Inside Oceanside, I'm Elena Gomez.
You've been watching Inside Oceanside. You can see this program, as well as other KOCT programs, on demand at our website, koct.org. And remember to check us out on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Thanks for joining us, and keep watching. We may be in your neighborhood next time on Inside Oceanside. This program was made possible by the City of Oceanside and the following KOCT corporate sponsor.
Enjoy Professional Hair Care offers over 30 pH-balanced and stable products designed to meet the needs of every hair type and delivers beautiful, healthy hair from start to finish. And just remember to enjoy.